7 days until the transfer window officially opens this summer, and the silly season is starting early. We have got a ton of news that broke last night around Manchester United off the back of Bruno Fernandes moving to the Saudi Pro League or not. Both sides of that story to get into. We're starting this morning though with the news that all of a sudden Mr Osimhen is back on the scene at Manchester United, and a possible Manchester United striker target behind another transfer target that Ruben said we wasn't going to get. So what is true and what is fictional when it comes to Manchester United's so-called transfer speculation this morning? I'm going to break it all down and go into detail on everything that Manchester United are up to and what has been reported. We'll get your comments in the live section as well. Please do drop your comments into the comments when the live is also finished so I can track back on that later on as well. Thank you everybody. That's all I want you to do. As always, get involved in the show. If you're live or if you're catching up later on, I've got you covered here. 8 o'clock show live, slightly earlier than 8 o'clock, but we're still live, keeping you up to date with everything going on around Manchester United. And like I said, there is so much news floating around from last night off the back of the Bruno Fernandes interest, which we will touch on because there has been an update on that from Fabrizio Romano. Like I said, there would be last night. So we'll get into that as well. We'll touch on the Gyokeres situation, what's happening with the lap, but starting with Mr Osimhen. All of a sudden, if you are watching and not listening in, you can see going across the bottom of your screen, apparently Manchester United representatives met with Mr Osimhen representatives. And this is what has been said regarding Mr Osimhen right now, and we'll discuss this in a moment. A meeting took place between Manchester United and Mr Osimhen's entourage. Osimhen is very interested in joining United. He wants a salary of €12 million per year. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. Because everybody has been talking about Mr Osimhen's substantial wages. Now, wages and how much players are on recently has really piqued everybody's interest in watching here, specifically on FUTV, when I brought up the Casemiro contract situation. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Before we get into all of the talk on Osimhen and where this has come from, let's actually have a look at why this report is saying €12 million a year contract. Because if you break that down, that's less than 250 grand a week. In fact, it's 230 grand a week wages for Mr Osimhen. And everybody talking about Mr Osimhen and the wages that he's on right now and how much money he's going to want and this mega wage that Osimhen is reportedly asking for. It's hard to figure out where it actually comes from, because when you look through his actual contract history at Napoli, right now, just for instance, at Galatasaray, he is on a base salary which would annually work out at £8.5 million a year. Yes, that's pounds. I'm working in pounds now. So £163,000 a week basic with no bonuses is what he's on right now at Galatasaray, verified and 100%. That's what he's on. The highest he's ever earned per week at Napoli. And this is where it gets confusing, because all of a sudden people are thinking that he's on substantial amounts of money. Mate, you could look across to Juventus and what the likes of Vlahovic is on, which is absolutely astronomical. Osimhen's nowhere near it. The highest amount he's ever earned at Napoli is £209,000 a week. Just to put that into focus and break it down, that's still £41,000 a week less than what Mason Mount is on at Manchester United. Harry Maguire earns 10 grand more than Mr Osimhen a season on his contract at Manchester United. So all of a sudden, everybody who's talking about what Manchester United can offer, Mr Osimhen is on the same amount of money pretty much as what Anthony is. Sancho earns more than Osimhen. So when we're thinking that all of a sudden Osimhen is going to want maybe 150 grand more a week wages, is it a bit wide of the mark? Are we jumping the gun a little bit here and listening to people all of a sudden saying that Osimhen's got some kind of attitude problem? He's a big-time Charlie. He wants this amount of money, that amount of money. These figures are factual and are verified. Mr Osimhen has never earned anything anywhere near what people are reporting. And you know what? He's only earned £209,000 a week at Napoli for one season, where his wages went up, and then it all went wrong for him. There was something that happened at Napoli that we've already said, and what the club did to him and how he reacted to the club, and then he got his loan move away. So I think Galatasaray are covering the majority of his wages at the moment. So the report of this meeting between United and Osimhen's representatives is reportedly, and it's come from Santiano, who has reported this. It's also been reported by Sebastian Dennis, and they both work and are both chief editors for FUTV, which is a publication over in France. But they're reporting that Victor Osimhen and this meeting has taken place, and his wage demands are not as high as what people are saying. Now, look, we have been told before by David Ornstein that Victor Osimhen is not on Manchester United's radar. The top target is Liam Delap, but that is not 100% guaranteed. Now, what is going on behind the scenes with Delap? It's gone very, very quiet. In terms of Manchester United, extremely quiet. Now, you would expect that because the last word out from Liam Delap's side of this saga was that he's waiting until the end of the season to see exactly where he wants to go and who is positioned where within the league and what competitions they're playing in next season. That's the Delap side of things. Now, Manchester United's head coach Ruben Amorim has come up and talked about a possible meeting with Victor Gyokeres when speaking to Portuguese TV. We'll touch on Gyokeres in a minute, but he said in that interview that no player is going to come to Manchester United if that player is looking to just move to United because of a competition we're playing in. He's only going to come to Manchester United if he solely wants Manchester United. That, and we have covered this before, at the time was around Victor Osimhen and regarding Victor Osimhen, and apparently, not Osimhen, sorry, Victor Gyokeres, and what Victor Gyokeres was saying. So we look at Delap, top target from what Ornstein said, and I'm running with the Athletic side on this, and I would always trust the Athletic more. So this Osimhen news right now, it's a bit of a surprise to me, but I've always said all along that nothing is dead until the transfer window is over. 27 days until this really starts kicking off, because Napoli want to move Osimhen on quickly in June. Manchester United want to get, obviously, Matheus Cunha and another striker in before the end of June as well, and what their finances can carry. All of a sudden, if you're looking at moving Marcus Rashford on and his wages, Jadon Sancho and his wages, and Anthony and his wages, and Victor Osimhen apparently has come in and only wants 12 million euros a year, which works out at 230 grand a week wages. It's less than that, actually, when you break it down into pounds, to be honest. That is a good base rate for a player of this quality. Let's not forget, Victor Osimhen has got, I think he's got about 42 goal involvements this season, including 33 goals for Galatasaray. They've walked the Turkish league. This is a striker that just scores goals. He is a top striker. And he's young as well. Obviously, he's turning 26 going into the new season. But that, I think, like we've said before, is the right type of striker. I don't know why Manchester United, if this story is true, would not be looking at Victor Osimhen over Liam Delap. Now, Liam Delap apparently wants 120 to 150 grand a week wages. Now, obviously, he's going to want up towards the top end there, 150. The more and more I talk about Liam Delap, the more and more I hear the stories on what he wants and what his demands are and where he sees himself fitting in at a football club. He's pushing him more and more away from Manchester United for me. Now, look, I still like Liam Delap. I do like him as a player. I've always said we need another striker if he is coming in as well. If he is the only striker that we're getting this season, then if we're in the Champions League, we are going to struggle. Because he isn't prepared, I don't think, for what's coming. Premier League and Champions League football. You need something else. Now, Victor Osimhen, if his wage demands are only that, you should be looking at Victor Osimhen. I'm sorry. And it's only if this story is true. And let's just make this clear right now. We haven't heard anything yet from David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano on this, or any other journalist on this. This has just come from the Santillana side of things, and Sebastian Dennis, who, like I said, they work for FUTV, which is a massive publication over in Spain. I think 4.4 million followers or something like that. So they are big. And they're the ones reporting this. They're also talking a few other things, which we're going to discuss in a minute. But I'm going to come to the chat first of all, the live chats, and just see where you're at with the Victor Osimhen side of things. Look, you don't have to believe this story. I am sort of sceptical myself. But again, it's never been totally killed off. And where we have got interest from the Saudi Pro League for Victor Osimhen as well. I just think there is some part of this that says at the age that he is, he's still miles better than the Saudi Pro League, and somebody else in Europe is going to come in and take him. I don't necessarily think that it is Manchester United. I'm not going to say we're all in and we're going to take him. I just think there's another European side that is going to come in for Victor Osimhen, and if these are what his wage demands are, and this is true, then somebody's going to take him. you're going to pay that price of 62 million release clause that Napoli want. It is a no-brainer. He is worth every single penny. If he is on 250 grand a week basic wages, you buy Victor Osimhen. I'm sorry, that just makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see from this point now how this develops, if this story is true. And not just if United come in. Let's not forget, obviously Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, all looking for strikers this summer. Aston Villa are probably looking for a striker as well, because they're going to lose Marcus Rashford. They've already lost Duran, and obviously Ollie Watkins, he's probably looking elsewhere at the moment as well after the way he's been treated this season. And no guarantee of Champions League football for them either. So you've got to look at everybody's position in the transfer window, and when it opens in June, I just think there's going to be big movement, because Osimhen and Napoli want this to move quickly, and there are only certain clubs and a handful of clubs that are in a position to go for him, and they're all clubs that Manchester United are competing with, really, when you look at it. Like Chelsea, they're looking for that striker as well, and I think Delap and Osimhen. And then there's a twist in a moment. But I just want to gauge your thoughts quickly on the Victor Osimhen. So I'm coming to the live chat now just to see what you think about this and where you can see this going. Do you think that there is any chance that Manchester United would sign Victor Osimhen? Osimhen is Alexis Sanchez Mark II. We don't need that, says Mane. I disagree, Mane. Why is he Sanchez Mark II? He's scored goals wherever he's played. He's performed wherever he's played. People have got this sort of picture of Victor Osimhen being this problem. Why? Whenever he walks out on that pitch, he performs. His stats speak for themselves. I don't get why he has got this whole picture of this trouble-causing player around him. And he's on nowhere near as much money as what Alexis Sanchez was on, or any other player at the top elite level at the moment. And if these wage demands are what they are, I can't even call them demands. I think that's just a going rate for somebody, basic going rate for somebody who is actually performing at the highest level, personally. And this is why this story sort of like interested me, because I didn't think the wages were right. And this only comes through, and this only works for us if the wages are bang on. And this is what he's looking for me anyway. Yeah, it works out at just under 200 grand a week when you break it down into pounds. If you go in at 12 million euros a year, says Block. It's right. It's not a lot of money. It doesn't sound right, does it? That's how I look at this story anyway. Let Delap go. Championship for the first few games next season. His demands will change. He's going to be bought in the first few weeks of June, mate. It's not going to happen, Liam, unfortunately. I get what you're saying, no. Osimhen's wage demands are after tax, and the tax and his gross wage demands are huge. We don't know, though, do we? Where is that report come from, Al? Do you know that's factual? 12 million after tax? We don't know. Because what he's on right now is obviously before as well. So he's never been on absolute Brewster's wage-wise. He's never been on it. So all of a sudden, everyone's saying that he wants this and wants that. There's nothing out there that has said his wages are going to be this or that at the moment. So that's what we're looking at. Adam, why is nobody looking at Samu from Porto? I think they are. I think there is a high release clause in his contract, though. That's why they're not, mates. I thought we would have an interest. I think there is an interest. I think Samu is going to be a good player, Nikhil. I think he is going to make a move as well this summer. And Manchester United have been looking at him. They have. I know that. The fact that Lukaku is still productive shows how rare number 9s are. Adam, it could be 12 million euros net per year. Look, it could well be. It could well work out that way. But is that still too much? That's the point I'm asking. And why have Manchester United gone into meetings with Victor Osimhen is another point we're also making here, when it was said that they weren't interested in him. This is what I'm saying. I've always said all along that if Victor Osimhen is available, Manchester United's targets or apparent top targets don't come off, then there will be a temptation to go and get Victor Osimhen. And they could incentivise his contract with bonuses to meet the mark that he wants. There is a way around it. And let's be honest, you know that he's probably going to score and get them bonuses as well. Look, I don't think that Manchester United... Personally, if you were asking me right now if I think we're going to get Osimhen, I don't think we are. I'm going to be honest and say no. Because the other side of this story is, and from the same report, this is where it starts to get interested, Manchester United's priority striker target is Victor Gyokeres. So the other Victor comes into the scene now. If they win the Europa League, that is, though. There is a 4-man striker shortlist, which also includes Victor Osimhen, Liam Delap, and another European striker. Who the other European striker is, I still don't know at the moment. Maybe you could look at Ekatike. It's gone quiet on him recently, but Victor Gyokeres, not Osimhen, Victor Gyokeres, in the same report from Santiona, in talking about this, he is apparently Manchester United's number 1. Now, this is a player that we know for certain is wanting Champions League football. And Ruben Amorim has already said that he's not had a conversation with Victor Gyokeres, and that any player, like I said a moment ago, that wants to come to Manchester United simply because we're possibly in the Champions League is not a player Manchester United want. And there's 2 players on that list there that fall into that category. So it's strange. Amorim has said one thing, and it's the only person of any significance representing Manchester United to come out and talk about anything regarding the transfer window. Everybody else has been the journalist that we always report on, which is the Romanos, the Ornsteins, Ben Jacobs, and all of the people like we're talking about now, like Daniele Logo and Santiano, journalists like this. There's only Amorim from United side that's come out and said anything regarding transfers. Very, very vague, but at the same time, I think sending a bit of a signal. Now, I said it before, when Amorim was talking about Victor Gyokeres, he has said in that same conversation to Portuguese TV that he hasn't spoken to Victor Gyokeres. And I think that is where he's covered himself a little bit, because if he says he hasn't spoken to him, he can obviously go back on what he said there regarding players won't come to United if they're just coming for the Champions League and say, well, I didn't know that's what he wanted because I've not spoken to him. So if you were asking me, if United win the Europa League, where do we go? It's between Delap and Gyokeres. That's where it's at. I don't think Osimhen even comes into the equation. The only reason Manchester United are looking at Victor Osimhen, I think, is because he falls into the category of player that doesn't need Champions League to come to Manchester United. I really do think that. I think Osimhen is that type of striker and that type of player. There has been nothing come from Osimhen's side. He's keen on Manchester United, isn't bothered about Champions League football. So that's why he's still being spoken about. The fact that Manchester United have got one foot into a Europa League final, or on the brink of winning the Europa League and getting into the Champions League, is why conversations about Victor Gyokeres are coming about. And what I said about Ruben Amorim is true, because he has said that. He's actually on and quoted on Portuguese TV. He says he's not spoken to Victor Gyokeres, that is. And any player that wants to come to United has to want to come to United, not just come in for the competitions that we're playing in. So I think the Gyokeres situation, as we see it, is probably more, has probably got more of a chance in happening than the Victor Osimhen one. The Osimhen one just kind of popped out of nowhere again, because let's be honest, we know the window opens in 27 days. We know that there's no definites anywhere yet. Everybody's season is drawing to a close. Everybody's season is nearly finished. And there's a lot of clubs that are scrambling in the last month of this financial window to try and get their deals done. So it's going to be something we've never seen before. It's going to be a madness in that first few weeks of the June transfer window. And I think this is why we're talking about it now. The fact that nobody is concrete in terms of offers. Like I would say concrete, I would level that with the Matheus Cunha situation. Now, we know United are going to get Matheus Cunha. We know that's far down the line. And this week, in fact, on the Cunha side of things, it could be quite crucial. We could have a finalised personal terms done, as in officially finalised and done. And obviously then we're into the realms of negotiating the fee, which apparently, according to Romano, is already underway anyway. So obviously we're just dragging this out now in terms of getting to the end of the season and trying to make it easier on the actual players that are still playing for opposite clubs. And that, I think, is where Manchester United's situation is. Especially with the Matheus Cunha side of things right now. So, yeah, when you look at that, when you look at everything that we've heard before, I think we can expect to see and hear a lot more regarding the Matheus Cunha story this week. Delap has gone quiet, like I said. Victor Gyokeres, we're not going to know about until we've won the Europa League, if we do win it. And Victor Osimhen, I think, we may hear more of when we don't win the Europa League. If we don't win the Europa League, it's funny because we'd only go for Osimhen, I think, if we didn't win the Europa League, and that really doesn't make that much sense when we're talking about the financial side of things. But that's how I'm reading it. That's how it seems to be breaking down. Honestly, it is a tough one to sort of gauge at the moment and figure out and where we're at. But I think, personally, if I had to pick one of the three right now where I think Manchester United are going to end up going, I think it's Victor Gyokeres. I do. I think he's favourite for Manchester United. I think he's the one that's going to be, out of all three of these, the number one pick. And now you could argue that back against Liam Delap, because if United win the Europa League, then Delap is open to coming to United. I'd be telling Delap where to go, to be honest. Now, nothing has been said regarding Victor Gyokeres and what his representation are asking for. Not in detail anyway, but we've had plenty on Liam Delap. If I'm Manchester United and you've got a young striker there that's had one season in the Premier League, albeit decent, like we've said, and he's waiting around, I'm telling him to walk. I'm saying see you later. I think Manchester United can get better than Liam Delap. I really do. And I think this is why Manchester United have been linked with the likes of Brian and Bruno. He's not an out-and-out striker, but I think the media are picking up on Manchester United actually looking at their striker situation and the hunt for a striker and going, this is pushing Delap more and more away. And there is something going on behind the scenes with Delap, which is pushing him towards Chelsea. I'm pretty convinced of it. And I just feel right now, with Chelsea making a late surge for the Champions League, I think Delap's going to end up at Chelsea personally. And Manchester United will miss out on that one, but is it really missing out? That's the question I'm posing right now. Let's get into some of your comments on this as well. I mean, actually, tell me who you would actually pick. Who is your player that you would go for if you had to pick out of the three of them? Brian with a super chat says, thank you for that, Brian, as well. Recent injuries and poor levels in the league are a blessing in disguise. After days like Sunday, an Osimhen purchase feels like the only way forward. You see, if you are Manchester United co-owner, representative, recruitment team, management team on the board, whatever it is, director at the football club, and you're watching United, you know where United are lacking. And you know that, you know what, if we had someone like an Osimhen or a Gyokeres in our side, we would be further up that table. We just don't score enough goals. Like, everybody else is doing their bits, like Ahmad and Garnacho scored the other day, Bruno with all his goals as well, Casemiro popping up, Maguire, everything like that. Rasmus Højlund, really, just looking at it, is the odd one out. He's the one that is letting Manchester United down. And I don't like to pinpoint and just label one player, but it's true. You know it's true. Yeah, so when you look at it, that I think is exactly where United need to be. And if, for instance, like everybody's breaking down the Victor Osimhen contract, like Andy Atherton there, thank you for renewing the membership as well, Andy. He says there, hi Adam, 12 million euros is £196,000 a week. And yeah, you could say that's after tax, but even if it's after tax and you're looking towards the £300,000 a week mark, is Victor Osimhen a 300 grand a week striker? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. And you can get a little bit picky if you want and start to say that United shouldn't be paying these wages. It's just going down that bumpy road again. But is Victor Osimhen's numbers worth 300 grand a week? Is someone going to pay him 300 grand a week? Yes, is the answer to that question. He is that good. That's it. And that's all you need. So if Victor Osimhen is scoring 25 plus goals in the Premier League in his first season, does 300 grand a week warrant that? Yes, it does. That's what these big players are getting. That's what these players warrant. They're the strikers. Now, obviously, that's what Manchester United's recruitment team needs to discuss and obviously make a decision on. And I think between Gyokeres and Osimhen, I would still go with Gyokeres, but Osimhen, if we didn't make the Champions League and we had to get rid of the likes of Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony Sancho, maybe even Casemiro, and all of them wages just to bring someone like Osimhen in, I would do that. I would do that. And you can call me crazy if you want, but I know what Manchester United need. And a player like Osimhen and the guaranteed goals that he brings is something that Manchester United desperately need at this football club right now. More comments coming in. Marquez says, Adam, it could be Osimhen is more achievable if we don't win because the savings on wages of players, 30% Euro bonus would pay for him. Glazonomics, mate, we're not a businessman, we're businessmen. We're not a businessman, we're businessmen. I think that's supposed to say there. Ideally, we'd get Gyokeres and the lap front line sorted for a few years. Well, yeah, Gyokeres and the lap would be Man United's front line sorted for quite a long time, to be honest, wouldn't it? Osimhen over Delap any day of the week, says Gricker. Samu will end up at Chelsea, says Graham. Look, they've been linked with him before and they battled out of it. Probably gutted that they did actually bottled out of it. They were earmarked to sign Samu last summer, Chelsea. That was the stories going around. Graham don't like Osimhen either. That's fine. Not many people, like I said, a lot of people love Osimhen. A lot of people don't like him. I don't know why. People, obviously, I don't think people actually know what he actually is and how he plays. Like, some people are coming out with comments saying Osimhen's not good enough for United. He's 50 times better than anything we've got right now. So, I think what you need to do is actually ask the question, would you rather him than Rasmus Højlund as your front player? And you know the answer is yes. I'm not trying to convince you, but I'm just saying that you cannot ignore the fact that he is better than Rasmus Højlund. And Liam Delap is probably better than Rasmus Højlund as well. But if Liam Delap wants 150 grand a week wages, then I'd spend a little bit more a week in wages and get the guaranteed in Osimhen. That's all I'm saying on it. That's what I'm saying. ATKO says that we shouldn't miss the chance to get Osimhen. I've watched him for years and he demands goals, creates his own goals and used any parts of his body and has hunger to be first to the ball in the box. That is exactly what Victor Osimhen is. Well described there, ATKO. He's an absolute terrier when it comes to being in the box. Regarding the Manchester United situation with Rasmus Højlund, just on this as well, there is news coming out as well at the moment. There's news flying around all over the place today. I'm just going to bring it to you as it actually happens as well. But a story in from Italy that's just coming in this morning. Juventus are pushing very hard about Rasmus Højlund and are expected to make an offer in the summer for him. Manchester United will not accept anything less than 40 million while the player is open to a return to Serie A. Now, that was a story that we picked up off on Daniele Longo the other day as well. Manchester United will be happy to let Rasmus Højlund go. In particular, if we are not in the Champions League next season, I think there's more of a chance that Rasmus Højlund will leave Manchester United. And that will pave the way again. If that finance is cleared and United get enough to cover what we owe on Rasmus Højlund and his wages are gone, and Rashford has gone, and Anthony has gone, and Sancho is gone, and all of them are off the books, then that paves the way for Osimhen. But I just need to obviously cover all of that, round that up quickly. In terms of the Osimhen situation right now, is he only comes in, I think, if Manchester United if United don't make the Champions League. Sounds crazy saying that. It would normally be the opposite, wouldn't it? But I think United's priorities are Gyokeres and Delap if we get into the Champions League. I just feel it. Ant with a super chat says, Osimhen is a statement of intent, gets him in. The fact that he does score goals on his own, he creates his own goals as well. That's something that we haven't got either. That is. And we have got creation in this team. We do. When you got the likes of Ahmad and Bruno and Cunha and Mount and these type of players, Manchester United would create chances for Osimhen. They really would. And if he's not bothered about Champions League football, I can fully see why Manchester United are all in for Victor Osimhen. I really can. I don't think Bruno goes anywhere unless he pushes for it until next year. I don't think he'd push for Saudi, Champions League club in Spain. Yes, Saudi, no. This on the Bruno one, just to finish things up. Fabrizio Romano touched on the Bruno story. A 3-year contract was on the table for Bruno Fernandes, apparently. And Al Hilal want to sign him before the Club World Cup. So, obviously, as soon as the transfer window opens on June 1st, they want to take Bruno Fernandes. Al Hilal have a genuine interest in Bruno Fernandes as one of their top targets this summer. No talks have started between clubs. Manchester United see Bruno as a crucial player. Same for Ruben Amorim. United insist no clear plan to keep Bruno. No clear plan to keep Bruno Fernandes. That from Romano. Manchester United have no intention of selling Bruno Fernandes this summer. He is one of the few players that the club would not be open to selling. That coming from Chris Wheeler and Nate Salt of the Daily Mail as well. That is your update on Bruno Fernandes. There is no talks, Romano said. No offer. Manchester United don't have a specific plan in place to keep Bruno Fernandes, but they don't need to. Like I said last night, he's only just signed his contract. So that being said, United right now are not selling Bruno Fernandes. It's as simple as that. Romano's saying there is interest there, genuine interest, but can you honestly see Bruno Fernandes leaving for the Saudi Pro League? No, you can't. And you know you can't see that happening. And that's you just being honest with yourself as well. I'm sorry, I'm not telling you how you should feel there. Sounds like I am, doesn't it? But yeah. Thank you, everybody who has liked the video as well. If you're loving the content, please pop a like up on the video, everybody. Just a couple more minutes to run before we set off and get going. But to round things up there and what's happened and the news and everything that's going on, Osimhen talks have apparently taken place, according to Santiano. His wage demands are in €12 million a year bracket. Now, the debate has gone on this morning whether that is before or after tax. So we'll see how that develops. But even if he is coming in and wants 300 grand a week wages, then I think Manchester United have to still look at that for the best striker or one of the best strikers that is out there right now. Apparently, Manchester United's top target, though, is Victor Gyokeres. And if we do win the Europa League, and on the 21st of May, United are picking up that trophy, expect Manchester United to be going all in on Victor Gyokeres. And I think Liam Delap will have to just wait in the wings. But there is still a small chance that United go for Gyokeres and Delap if we win the Europa League. We need squad quality and depth going into the Champions League next season. That's what Manchester United need anyway. And the Saudi Pro League is just not where Bruno wants to be. That has come after the report that Al Hilal are interested and Bruno is a top target. They are willing to pay him anything he wants. Be interesting if they come into Manchester United and say, look, there's 120 odd million or whatever, give us Bruno. What United do then? I don't see it happening, no, I really don't. I think Bruno is staying put. Look, sorry to cut that short, everybody. It was rocking and rolling there. Please do carry on dropping your comments in the comment section when the live is finished, everybody. Just want to say a massive thank you to the mods and everybody who contributed this morning. Fantastic chat. I will be back at lunchtime if there is anything to update you on. I've got a feeling it's going to be a busy day. So we're always probably going to be updating you around about 12:30 maybe. Or it's going to be a bit later on. But yeah, back at the normal time later on as well. Everyone, around about 6 o'clock this evening with all of the European football that's going on. So make sure that you're there as well for that one. But thank you for now, everyone. Please do keep them comments flying in, people. Let me know what you think about Gyokeres, Osimhen, Delap, and Bruno Fernandes in particular. Thank you, everybody. That is it for now. I'll see you all later on. Keep tuned in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Give the video a like on the way out if you are loving the content. And I'll see you all later on, everybody. Have a fantastic Tuesday morning. Back to work, people.